This is the Big Stories podcast, where we tell the amazing and inspiring stories from across the Big 12 Conference.
I'm your host, Cleon Wall, and welcome to Fantasy Island. Okay, I'm in a little bit of a silly mood right now, or maybe I actually always wanted to be Mr. Rourke from that 70s and 80s TV show, Fantasy Island. You know, I could wear a fancy white suit and live on an island. Then again, that show was kind of creepy. You know what? Never mind. I don't want to be Mr. Rourke. I just want to be Cleon Wall, host of the Big Stories podcast. It's our final installment of our summer series recapping BYUTV's Big Stories from 2025. Our next episode will be a brand new episode, and you never know, maybe Mr. Rourke will show up on that episode. Probably not. Anyway, now on to today's episode, and we start with University of Cincinnati grad Rich Franklin. Rich has done some pretty incredible things in his life, but he wasn't always sure about his future. So what was Rich's dream? Well, if you ask him, he would tell you that all he wanted to do was have a job where he could impact youth, not only intellectually, but spiritually, something he legally wasn't permitted to do as a school teacher. But he continued teaching while participating in martial arts fights for fun. And slowly, fighting became such a big part of his life that he made a life-altering decision.
Midway through my fourth year, I thought, well, what would happen if I actually tried to pursue this? I remember the day that I told my father that I wanted to quit. You know, I always jokingly say that my dad looked at me like he wanted to punch me that day. He thought, you're throwing away your life.
Rich made the decision to pursue MMA full-time, and it would be an understatement to say his life took a turn. You see, it turns out he was really good as a fighter, and while he was enjoying the fast-paced, exciting lifestyle of the UFC, this path also had its consequences.
There was a time where my career became more important to me. Making money, I started chasing a number. I walked into my hotel room and I had my belt and I just tossed it down on the bed. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, nothing is different between now and 6 hours ago. I'm the same person. So I don't feel like a champion. I don't know what I expected. If your value or validation comes from some sort of extrinsic reward, you're going to find that the internal reward that you get from that is very, very shallow.
Rich realized that UFC belts, trophies, fame, and attention really didn't hold the value he was looking for. In fact, one day he came home from a fight and threw his belt on the bed in frustration. He realized even though he had won such a prestigious award, he was still the same Rich Franklin that was a math teacher a few years prior. So he set out for something he knew would bring him value in his life. Rich started a Bible study. Looking at all the amazing things that Rich has accomplished, I think it's safe to say that leading these Bible studies is what brings him the most joy and satisfaction. I thought I'd take a look online and see what Rich is up to now, nearly a year after BYUTV filmed this episode. From what I can tell, Rich seemed to be enjoying life and doing the things he loves. He's posted several videos of MMA training sessions he has been holding, so he's still giving back to the upcoming generation of fighters. He also frequently participates in podcasts to share his ideas and feelings with those who follow his story. So, what's my big takeaway from this episode? The lessons you learned in the past are important, but the direction you're headed today is the most important. Make sure you watch Rich's story by going to BYUSN.com, which is where you can find all of BYUTV's Big Stories. Our final story we're going to feature comes from the University of Central Florida. Latavius Murray was an electrifying running back in the NFL for 11 years after graduating from UCF. Opposing players hated to see him coming, and with his size, speed, and athleticism, he was hard to bring down. While Latavius worked hard to get to where he was, he also acknowledges those who played a big role in helping him become the man he is today, especially his late friend Jonathan.
Just a great dude, just a generous dude. He loved bringing people together. He knows exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and there's no doubt in my mind that I know he wouldn't be right here with me, tagging along, making this thing happen.
That thing Latavius talked about, well, he's building a community center in Jonathan's name. You see, Jonathan died after he was shot right before Thanksgiving in 2016. Just a few days after the shooting, Latavius had to suit up for a game against the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I just lost my best friend. And then, but you gotta go out here and put on a show for all these people to watch. In a way, you almost you almost despise the game a little bit. He was taken from us, you know. I got to be honest to say that. He was taken from us early.
Now Latavius is turning that tragedy into a blessing for kids in his hometown of Nedrow, New York.
So I grew up right here in Nedrow. I lived on Orchard Ave. So this is home. I sat right here in these seats. I went right through those doors to get my food and came in here and ate. Don't ever doubt where you come from and what you're capable of doing. And yes, I am building a community center, and it is for you guys. If it's one kid in there that you leave your mark with, that's what it's all about. You can't really ask for much more than that.
Latavius and others are still trying to raise money for the center. In May of 2026, they held their 4th annual gala to generate more money to begin construction on the building. NFL players like Jameis Winston were guests of honor. By the way, if you want to donate to his cause, you can find out more at jdccenter.org. That's jdccenter.org. My big takeaway from this story, never forget where you come from. Latavius has heard his name on the biggest stages, but he's never forgotten his roots. More importantly, he has never forgotten his relationship with Jonathan. It's heartwarming to see him turning his grief into something that will benefit an entire community. Again, you can check out all the stories at BYUSN.com. Well, that's it for this episode. A big thanks to Rebecca Mortensen and Brandon Thorpe for producing the episodes, along with senior producer and editor Terry South. I'm Cleon Wall. Thank you for listening and watching. And as always, the Big Stories podcast is a production of BYU Radio.